So you want to learn about marketing and promoting your book. Oh man, this seems like a never-ending task. And I've talked about this ad nauseum, but instead of me telling you what to do, I've actually brought in a guest expert that's been in this business for quite a while, sold over 75,000 books himself, and he's helped countless authors to market and promote their book. We're going to be talking about all that in today's episode, so make sure that you stay tuned. Hey, I'm Dale L. Roberts, a best-selling author as well as a self-publishing advocate who wants to show you how to publish books that sell. And oh, am I geeked up. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite things today in marketing your books, the best ways to market your book, most importantly. And I've brought in a special guest today. His name's Doepker, and Derek is a rock guitarist. He's turned a 7-time #1 best-selling author. And he discovered a proven success that took him from struggling author to selling over 75,000 books. Now he shares this process with thousands of authors through workshops, courses, and retreats, empowering them to turn their passion for writing into a thriving business. So without any further ado, I want to welcome here to Self-Publishing with Dale for the first time ever, Derek Doepker. Derek, how you feeling, man?
I'm doing awesome. How you doing, Dale?
I am fantastic. You and I were kind of jib-jabbing just before we got on here, so I am really geeked up. Without us just kind of kicking around and talking too much about this, that, and the other, I do have a lot of questions we want to cover. But very first thing is, if you're watching this on the live, video here, please drop any kind of questions that you have here for Derek. Derek is more than happy to help you out. And also, if you're watching this on the replay and you've never heard of Derek, anybody hasn't heard of Derek Doepker, put in #new-to-me inside the comments, and I'm going to introduce you to this guy, and you're going to really get to know why he's my go-to resource. So Derek, let's just jump right into this. Whatever brought you into this crazy, wild world of self-publishing?
Well, as we were talking about, Dale, I never thought I'd be a writer because my background is a rock guitar player. So how do you go from rock guitar player to publishing coach, marketer guy? And the story, I'll keep it somewhat brief because we could go on for a while on it. And I want to make this more about what you can take away from this for your marketing.
Yeah.
But I started out, 12 years old. My life was clear, just going to become a rock star. So growing up, that's all I did, played guitar, went to school to Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee, and got a degree in music. Then I moved to Los Angeles to become a rock star and was broke, sleeping on an air mattress, working as a valet parker. I could barely pay my bills each month. And around this time, I was really getting into this world of entrepreneurship, online business. How can I take my passion, not just for music, but also for health and fitness, and turn that into some sort of business and income? So I spent a couple years studying about entrepreneurship, going to courses, training, trying blogging. Started out actually with YouTube videos. It was my first ever somewhat mild success, was getting some hits on YouTube videos, and nothing was really panning out financially. And then I won a Kindle e-reader in the mail. And at this point I had been blogging for a little bit. So I thought, okay, what if I turn some of my content into a Kindle book? And when I did that, I launched my first book, and then right out of the gate sold about 3 copies. And one was to my mom. So it's like, the good news about that is, so if you're listening and you're like, you don't knock it out with your first book, or it's not some huge success, the thing that helped was the mindset for that first book, which was, this is me just figuring out the process. That's okay. And then looking back, I see some authors who put a lot of pressure on themselves, especially for the first book, and it's got to be this masterpiece. It's what if it's just a training book, right? And I'm not saying it wasn't a crappy book. It was a good book. I was passionate about it, but by not putting the pressure on me, even though it seemed kind of like a failure, and there's a lot of other failures and we may or may not get into, the feeling was, it's okay. I now know what to do, so I can improve here. I can do my next book. I can figure this out. So I published my next book. That made about $70 in the first month. So, it took me months to write it, but the thing that felt like a success for this, and if you've sold even one thing online, you might relate to this feeling. And that is, I actually I remember getting a review and it's like a stranger. Like, I don't actually know this person. This is a person who just found my book and they read it and it helped them. Like, this was what I was going for. So that was my success there. It wasn't financially. So I thought to myself, okay, I was about to give up on the whole self-publishing thing, thinking, okay, I'm going through these courses. This is back in 2012. I'm going through these courses. I'm doing everything right. It just isn't working for me. And look, I'm a no-name guy. I don't have much money. I can barely pay the rent each month. Maybe I just can't do the self-publishing thing. Maybe it just doesn't work. Uh, Back then, maybe it's saturated, right? But what happened was I went to a seminar and I learned, and November 2012, learned about influence in relationships. And this will probably come up quite a bit in our talk today.
Yeah.
And when I got that piece combined with the other marketing knowledge that I had, and I also changed my approach a little bit. I wasn't just trying to do what all the gurus were saying. I was like, it wasn't just, and keywords are great, but it wasn't just like, let me just do a bunch of keywords in my title. I go, let me just write a book that I'm really excited about and I want my family and friends and people to have. And if it doesn't sell, that's okay. Like, if I was going to, die in 30 days, what would I want to leave behind for the world? And when I approached it like that, combined with the marketing skills and the relationship and influence skills, I launched my third book in December of 2012 after attending that seminar. And within a week of it going on sale, it became a #1 bestseller in weight loss. Generated almost $6,000 in 11 days.
Woo!
And that's the moment I go, I figured this out. I cracked the code, right? I figured out what I needed to do. And just to confirm, I published some more books. So six books at least have hit #1 bestseller since then, and in competitive categories like personal development and whatnot. So after that, or at least right when that moment happened, I set the intention, or I even had the intention before that, I'm going to teach others. I'm going to share with other authors, other aspiring authors, what it takes, because I wish I would have had someone put the pieces together in a certain way. I wish someone would have taught me a little differently, or taught me some of these things that I wasn't taught and had to figure out through trial and error. So ever since then, ever since 2013 is when I got into coaching authors, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
Man, I'll tell you, that's just awesome. I love hearing about this, and the fact that you went from struggling to that aha moment that really got you that breakthrough. I'm sure a lot of people that are watching this are going, oh my gosh, I've got to talk to Derek right away, because he got $6,000 in 11 days. So, let's jump into the meat of what I wanted to discuss with you today. And that is going to be marketing, and something that I've been binge watched your content, obviously. I'm a huge fan. I've been following your email for a while. So there is a specific methodology that you go by when it comes to marketing and promoting for books, and it's called Aspire. Could you tell me a little bit about Aspire? What does that mean, and how can this help other authors that are watching this right now?
Yep. So Aspire is an acronym for the 6 primary ways to promote your book. So to start out, why I even created this before I even get into what it means and what the pieces are, when I look out there at all the different ways to promote a book, it's empowering to a degree to think that we have so many options as authors and entrepreneurs and marketers of ways of getting the word out about our work. What's happening is, in the age of information, in the information age, it's now getting to a point where it's like, there's so much, it's actually overwhelming. At least for me and for some other authors I've talked to, it's like, I don't want 10,000 different book promotion marketing strategies. Now I got to sift. Like, if I see an article that's like 101 ways to promote your book, there's some stuff out there like that. And it's like, it's useful. I'm not knocking that. It's useful to like get some ideas. It's just, I almost feel a little anxiety, like, oh man, 101 ways. Like, oh man, do I have time for this? Not even just, not that I have to do everything, but now I got to read through that and I got to sift and sort. And I'm like, I'd rather just have like the top most effective, like even if you can just give me like the #1 most effective way, or the top 5 to 10 ways, like give me a few things that I can really dial in on. And if I just did those few things, that would be, it's 80-20, this 20% can get you 80% of the results. So that's how I tend to think. And Aspire was born out of that, of going, what are the most effective ways? How can you remember what they are? And even with these 6 different categories of promotion, even then you don't have to do all of these things. So I want to set that up even before we get into this.
Nice.
As you hear 6 different approaches, and of these there's a few different subcategories. You don't have to do all these. You might pick 2 or 3 that you really focus on, get dialed in, and then you can add more over time. I'll give one more caveat. We might dive into this a little later if you want to, and that is, this is all about how to promote your book once it's out. Mm-hmm. Going back to 80-20, 80% of it is what you do before you even hit the publish button. That is knowing that there's a market for your book, right? Like if it's some obscure book, I don't know if like ant farming, maybe that's a popular category, but I mean, let's just say that compared to, paranormal romance or how to use, how to improve your marriage or whatever. Those are going to be much more popular topics. So understanding, what's the market, how do you position yourself, what's your cover, your description, title, subtitle. Speaking of 80-20, probably 80% of my content is on that, because that's so much of the game right there, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And Sun Tzu, paraphrasing Art of War, it's like you win the battle before you even go into it. So with that in mind, this is going to assume you have a good foundation in place, and now you're like, I published my book, now what? Who's going to, how are people going to hear about it? Yeah. So this is where we get into Aspire. And Aspire, we'll start with the A. I'll run through, well, how would you prefer to do it, Dale? What do you think would be better? You want me to run through what each of them are, and then we can go deeper into each one, or start with one and dive deep one at a time?
Let's go ahead and go over each one of them. See how you feel. When you first introduced this to me, I was just like mind blown. I'm like, oh my gosh, this makes things so much easier. So take it as you see fit.
Okay. So here's the big picture overview, and then we can dive deeper into any one of these things. So A is ads. Ads can be anything from Amazon ads to Facebook ads to, I don't use much Google ads. I don't know a lot of authors who do as much, but it could be Google ads, it could be YouTube ads, all of those type of ad platforms, as well as there's a lot of book promotion websites. And this is what I did when I first launched, which is like the sites that promote discount books and free books. So Free Booksy, for instance, Buck Books, BookBub. If you get accepted for a deal, this would be, there's 2 forms. There's the, they accept you and they can promote the book to their list. And then there's the self-serve ad platform there, right? So it's the discount and free book promotion websites, as well as these different self-serve ad platforms. I talked to when I look at fiction authors, I see more, I see some of them having success with Facebook ads. Nonfiction, it's a little harder unless you have a back end. We could get into strategy, but like basically a lot that can be done with ads. And this is something with few exceptions, I would say having at least a little bit of money going towards ads is going to be a good idea for the vast majority of authors. Yeah. When I was a broke ballet parker, and to give some perspective, like there was one month after I moved to LA, it's not like a sob story. I just want to put it in perspective. Like I had my prize music keyboard from college, and it's like each month was the same thing, looking around. What can I sell? I can't pay my bills. And so I see my keyboard and I go, I really don't want to, but I don't know what else I'm going to do. So I sell it. I watch the guy walk out with his keyboard now at this point. And that's where I was at. And still, I was scrounging around $100 a month to pay for 2 years of making payments to attend that seminar I went to in November of 2012. Yeah. So I appreciate when people say, well, I don't have the money, I can't afford to get coaching or a course or training. And it's like, okay, well, what I did was I taught online guitar lessons on Fiverr. I did audio editing. I found service-based things that paid income sooner to be able to support the author business. So I'm saying all this to go, if someone's going, well, I don't know if I want to do ads. Well, it costs a little money. It's like, this is a business. And as a business, there's going to be some basic business investments. And for me, I still found $100 to probably $150, $200 to put into ads whenever I launched that third book that became a #1 bestseller. And that was key because those ads gave me a lot of momentum that was necessary for Amazon to take over and then start promoting it. So the great thing about ads, especially something like Amazon ads, you can do as little as $1 a day. You can do a couple dollars a day, and at least get started. So we can go deeper into strategy if we want on any of these, but let's just wrap up there. That's the overview of what ads are.
Okay, so we got ads on the first part of Aspire. What comes at S?
S is social media. Now, depending on your preferences as an author, you may go, great, social media, I love it, it's my thing. Or if you're a little bit more like me and some other authors, like, I really don't care as much for social media. So I don't do a ton on social media, and yet I still see the value in it. I like YouTube, if you consider this a social media platform, and I like social media for me, which is where I can keep track of beta readers, which is where I can go to some author groups or some reader groups, and not to just say, hey, buy my book. Like, what doesn't tend to work on social media is going to a bunch of book promotion groups and just kind of, here's the link to my book. And I'm not knocking it if there are book promotion groups that let you post, by all means. I mean, it takes 2 seconds, so whatever. But I wouldn't hold my breath and expect to become bestseller. Just because I sent a few tweets and dropped a link in a few book promotion groups. So to me, social media is much more about understanding the audience, engaging with people, running surveys, and things like that. But there's definitely authors who have done very well with their social media. They use Instagram and Facebook and leverage it in ways that are way beyond my expertise. So I'm not as much the strategy guy on that as more the observer and analyzer to say social media is definitely a platform for some authors that they can leverage. And like I was saying at the beginning, I would use a degree of social media, but don't think if you're not, hardcore social media enthusiasts that you can't be successful, because there's also plenty of authors who don't rely on it or they don't need it organically. Maybe they'll run ads on social media, but they're not sitting there posting pictures every single day or comments or content.
Gotcha.
So S is social media. Then we have A for ads, S for social media. Now we have P for platforms. And I originally had this as a more specific type of platform. And it was a platform that I heard Hal Elrod say this, who authored The Miracle Morning, great book. And he sold over 1 million copies of that book. And he was given a talk, and he mentioned, like, he's done a lot of things to promote his book. And he's been on television. And I mean, whenever I see someone who's that successful and also that savvy as a marketer, I'm like, they could do almost anything. What is the approach that they take? And so initially I thought maybe he'd say it's this combination of all these things that he's doing to promote his book, but he was very clear. No, there was one thing he did that made the biggest difference for his book sales. And I'm like, okay, so what is this one thing? And he said, podcast, going on podcast. And I thought about it. I go, can you, like, if I think about it, I mean, this is nonfiction. We'll come back to fiction in a moment. But nonfiction, I'm like, yeah, like, how many big time New York Times bestselling authors go on podcasts? Someone's got a big launch, Gary Vaynerchuk, Tim Ferriss. Like, what are they doing? They go on like a podcast tour. Like, that's the thing. And if that's what works for many of the biggest authors, this was inspiring not only to know that as a method, but it's also cool because getting on podcasts, if you know how to pitch yourself, it's free. Right. I mean, maybe there's some paid podcasts, but most of the time you're not paying to go on a podcast.
Yeah.
Right. So I go, that's free. And the reason why podcasts work is because it's oftentimes the most engaged listeners. They're listening to you for 20 minutes, maybe up to an hour.
Yeah.
Right. So you build this deep connection. And what this really is, I want to take a step back from podcasts and say this is a form of platforms. That's what the P is. So podcast is one example. What we're doing right now, this is another example.
Yep.
I'm on your platform right now, Dale, and I'm connecting with your audience. So you as the listener, as the audience, think about how you're discovering people. Oh yeah, I'm a part of someone else's platform and they're introducing new people to me, right? So how can you get on other people's platforms, on their stages? And it could be a podcast, it could be a video, could be a Facebook Live, which, kind of the mix between social media, but platform. And also another big thing, publications. So originally it was podcasts and publications, but I took a step back and said it's really platforms, because this could be live stages. This could be all kinds of different
Yeah.
types of platforms. So publications could be guest blogging. Now, it's not as useful as it has been in the past, but if you know how to get on some bigger publications, one of my mentors, Kamanzi Constable, he teaches how to get on places like Entrepreneur and Success and Forbes. And so I've gotten in success.com, on success.com, on Forbes.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. And a lot of it, I mean, it's thanks to his training. You know, that's me investing in mentorship. He figured it out. And what that means is, for depending on your audience, if I want to speak to corporate decision makers, that's the place to be. That's how his clients get like these big time corporate deals, is by being on those publications. So if you're going, well, Derek, I'm a fiction author, you're talking about success.com, what does that have to do with me? You can take a step back and go, what is the principle here? It's the principle of your audience is already reading something, listening to something, consuming content. They already have either a publication like a magazine or an influencer or someone that they trust. How can you get in front of that existing audience? How can you get on that platform? And Joanna Penn talks about this. She's like, I asked her, I was doing an interview with her, and I was going, okay, I know podcasts are great, but for instance, but could this work for fiction authors? She's like, absolutely. And she's, there's podcasts that interview fiction authors, but there's podcasts that are topical. So if you have, a police detective novel, there's plenty of podcasts that talk about crime, true crime, maybe like, psychology and understanding, human behavior. I mean, there's so many different things. If you have a children's book, obviously a lot of parenting type of podcasts and things like that. So there's so many approaches. If going to travel related podcasts with things about different locations in the world, if your book takes place in that location, what you found out about it. And so this is where you expand out and you go, oh, wait a second, there's all kinds of platforms that exist out there where my readers might be. So recap: A for ads, S for social media, P for platforms.
Yep.
Now we go to I. And we've kind of hinted at I as well, and that is influencers. Mm-hmm. So influencers have built their platform, but influencers don't have to be, it doesn't, with platforms, it's usually more your content, your writing, you speaking like I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Influencers could just be someone saying, hey, you need to check out Dale's book. It's phenomenal, right? And consider how many books, I'd be curious, I'll ask you, Dale, and I invite all the listeners and watchers to this. How many books do you think you purchase? I mean, it could be percentage wise, based off of someone recommending it and saying, oh, you got to check out this book?
Oh, I would say half the time. Half the time I get based on recommendation. I'm always asking, people, or even just in a regular conversation. So like you and I would be connecting, and I would say, hey, I'm reading such and such. Have you checked that out? And you might do the same thing in return. Recommendations come a lot.
Yep. So that is the idea of partly the I, partly the R, and that is people are often buying based off of recommendations of people that they trust. Mm-hmm. So this gets you thinking, and I'll take a step back here and say that it's not what can I do to promote my book, it's what can we do to promote my book. So you're going from an I-based perspective to a we-based perspective, seeing this as a collaborative effort. Yeah. And this is a shift, and it's not just what can I do, it's who can help me. So when it comes to influencers, we can get into influencer strategies. So I'm going to keep it to the overview here, or get into the strategies later. The overview is that there's people who, again, have your audience, and if they like your book and recommend it, they can send an email to their audience. They could post about it. If you think like, I still don't really know exactly what Kim Kardashian does, but
I don't either.
I'm pretty sure if she like posts about some eyeliner or something, like it'll probably sell, right? If she tweets about it or posts on Instagram or whatever. So influencers kind of gotten this rap of like the Instagram influencer. What I mean by it is really, anyone that has a following, an expert, a thought leader, a fellow author in your genre, anything like this, where their word carries weight and their recommendation carries weight. And if they share it, they have an existing audience. So it's one to many. So the way I like to look at this is you go, think about how long it's going to take to build an audience of 10,000 people.
Yeah.
Okay. It could take a while if you're doing it organically, even with like podcasts, they're great. It's just a time, but the non-sexy part about it is going to take time. Like that's a build and go, and that's important.
Facts.
Uh, it, and so still do it. It's also keeping in mind, like it's time. So what can you do for speed? And the time it takes to build an audience of 10,000 versus what if you connected with even, quote unquote, smaller influencers that had an audience of 1,000 people, which is not like I mean, you could be pretty up and coming and have an audience of 1,000 people. So we're not talking about trying to reach out to Oprah here.
Yeah.
And if you connected with 10 of them, you could do that in an afternoon. You could do that in less than an hour to make a connection point. And if they promoted your book, you've now reached 10,000 people who in something that took you maybe 30 minutes. So, and this isn't hypothetical numbers. Like I'm talking about, I've had even just one or two influencers that I've connected with. The whole conversation back and forth, maybe a couple minutes.
Wow.
If we wanted to hop on a call, maybe it took, another 15, 30 minutes. But then we're talking about them promoting to audiences of thousands and thousands of people. So I'm like, how long would it have taken me to build that audience myself versus leveraging their audience?
Brilliant.
And here's the thing, their audience then starts to become your audience. It's not an either or. It's not like I only become codependent on these people. It's that they help build your audience as you go. So A for ads, S for social media, P for platforms, I for influencers, R for readers. And this
Okay.
is where your readers who might not have a big audience, they might not be like these influencers and have a big email list, but just like you're saying, Dale, people are going to be like, what do you recommend? And your readers, a lot of times big books that, just seem to grow organically, it's because readers, some people pick it up. The author has to get that initial momentum, but once some people find it, one person tells their friend tells their other friends, and it grows through word of mouth. Now, here's the thing for you as an author, it's not just, I hope my readers share it. If you look at savvy marketers, they're going, how do I incentivize my readers to share it?
Yeah.
This is where you may have seen things like this. I remember Ian Stanley, a great email marketer and marketer in general. His book came out, Confessions of a Persuasion Hitman. And I remember seeing like people, he did some promotion. I don't remember exactly how he did it, but it's like, take a picture with the book. And so people are like taking their pictures of the book. And if you've ever seen this, it's not people just randomly deciding to take a picture, selfie, and post it on social media with the book. If you see a lot of people doing that, hashtag book title or whatever, clearly that idea was planted by the author,
Yeah.
right? There was something that was motivating that. Maybe it's just, encouraging people to do it for the fun of it, or saying, hey, if you do that, there's going to be a drawing for a prize and it's a submission to something, or everyone who posts this is going to get some bonus or whatever. So this is incentivizing and motivating your readers who like, and I just want to take a step back here because some people might think, well, if they love it, wouldn't they just talk about it already? I don't want to, and yes, some people will. But the thing to keep in mind about human psychology, if you consider your own experience, I know this is true for me. I think to myself, oh, I would love to tell people about this. I would love to share. Oh, I'm going to totally leave a review. And I have the best intentions, but life happens. And then I forget about it, or I don't think about it, or, something on to the next thing. So as marketers, which you all are as authors, if you're in this as a business, you got to, at the very least, remind people to say, did you love this? Would you, can you share a few words about what you enjoyed? Post on social media. Like, you really got to like nudge people to do it and give them a reason why, whether that's an emotional reason why, telling them how much it helps more people if they discover this book. If it's a practical, you're going to be entered for a prize or you can win something, whatever it is, give them a why and remind them. And a lot of times it's multiple reminders.
Tremendous. So you're plowing through all these ones. Let me make sure I recap on some of them. A, ads. S, social media. P, platform. I, influencer. R is for readers. Now let's put a big old pretty bow on this one. What does E represent?
E represents probably the most important out of all of these.
Okay.
In fact, all of these lead to E. And it just so happens that the acronym works out where you have the first five all leading to this final piece, which is E. And this is really your business, is E. Because E is email. This is your email list. This is your contact list. Okay. So I don't care how things shift in the world. I don't care how, what platforms come and go social media wise. I mean, I care, but in the sense of as a business, if I build a huge audience on Facebook and that's the only place I have it and it goes away, Facebook changes the algorithms, they change the rules, something happens. It's my business, it's gone. And this happens to people. There's people, giant Instagram influencers with millions of followers, they get deplatformed. Next thing they know, their business is done. It's gone. And they don't have a way of connecting with all those followers. That's not really a business, or that's like you're working with someone else's business. So yes, do that.
Yeah.
Don't rely on that. So have your own email list, have your own point of contact. And for me as I'm biased as an email marketer, but I'm not an email marketer because I just woke up one day and said, I just really want to become an email marketer.
Yeah.
I became an email marketer because it made sense to master email.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying everyone has to master email in terms of what you do. You really rarely do I use the word should, but this is out of the other ones. I'm like, you may or may not choose to do that based off of what makes sense for you. Email is one of those things I'm like, you should have an email list. That's your business, unless you really don't care that your entire business could be wiped out and there's nothing that you can do about it. So it works from not just a safety net standpoint. It's also really where if you look at a lot of the top authors, they get to the point where they can sit an email blast and their book is a bestseller. And I don't mean a bestseller like they sold 3 books in the category of basket weaving or something.
Hey, I did that.
We're talking big time fiction thriller authors. We're talking about nonfiction, business, health, fitness, relationship, like big categories, because they send an email and they can contact their email list. You can build anticipation with emails. You can send out a series. You can answer questions back and forth with the readers. You can then do your bonus offering. So there's so many strategies that you can do with email. And so if I'm running ads, I might run ads to my books, but my books are really to build my email list. Even if I do a free book, which has its pros and cons, we can get into that. If I'm doing social media, I want to use social media to eventually get them from social media also onto my email list, and vice versa. People from my email to my social media. Going on platforms, I can go speak on a stage and not sell anything, but my main goal is I want people coming back to my tribe onto my email list. Influencers might promote your book, or they might promote your email list. Do exchanges like that. Readers, this is something I'm now going to start experimenting with more, and I haven't done it. And it's kind of like one of those forehead slap moments, because you teach this and then you're like, wait a second, if all roads lead back to email and there's readers, what can I do to incentivize my readers to share my email list, to get them to say, hey, because I have a lot of people that love my email list.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm sharing your emails already. And I'm just now connecting the dots from listening to other marketers. It's like, I might ask them to share my book, but I'm not asking them to share my email list. And wait a second, that doesn't make sense from what I teach and know, because a book sale is actually not necessarily as valuable as an email subscriber. Email subscriber, I can sell them books, multiple products and services.
Evergreen. You can keep coming back to that time again. Whereas with a book, someone buys it once, that's it.
Yeah. Hopefully they buy the book and then join the email list.
Yeah.
But if I could start at one point of contact, sometimes, not always, but sometimes it might be better to start them with the email list and then lead them to the other. So all of this is to say, comes back to email. So with any of these, that's the Aspire method: ads, social media, platforms, influencers, readers, email. I can't think of too many highly effective marketing strategies that don't fit into one of those categories.
Yeah, I love it, man. It's so funny. I knew we were going to hang our hat here for a while. I've got one more question before we go over to the live chat here, folks. If you've got a question for Derek, please leave it on in there. And also, since we finished off on talking about email, Derek, do me a favor, point down right below, downward like this. Head on over to bestsellersecrets.com. You can actually get a free download of one of his ebooks. It's a fantastic read. And he gives, I think you're sending out daily emails, right? It's really good stuff.
Yep. It's daily email. We can talk about strategies for email if you want to, but know that it's daily. And if you're shocked and horrified by that, like a daily email, well, first of all, I invite you to check it out and see how it's done. Or you can always unsubscribe at any time. That's totally cool. And you can still get a free book.
Never pressure. And that's one thing, it's beautiful, and everybody's going to have to find this out for themselves. Go subscribe to his email list. I never get this feeling of you being pushy or trying to sell things on me. Inevitably, when I see your email in my inbox, I'm like, oh, I'm going to learn something new. And every single time, and it's so cool how you do it through the craft of storytelling. Every single time you're sharing a point, you're not just lording over people. It's almost like we're gathered around a campfire, and you're going to tell us a story and how it relates to a point within the business of self-publishing. And I think that's beautiful. I like to applaud that. All right, so I got one more question. Again, folks, over inside the live chat, please drop any questions you have. And if you're watching this on the replay, drop any kind of questions you have in the comments, and we'll do our best to answer them. So my final question would be, among Aspire, okay, as a review, we had ads, social media, platform, influencer, readers, and email. I kind of know the answer to this one just based on our conversation. What is the most effective of all 6 of those?
Well, I'll throw you for a loop then. I'll say that most effective, my answer for many of these things is going to be it depends.
Okay.
Because it's going to depend on, I'm going to say that email is essential. Whether or not that's most effective, there's certainly plenty of authors who, until they get effective at email marketing, they're like, I send out emails all the time and no one opens it, or they open it, but they don't click, or they click and they don't buy, right? So if you're not skilled at that, email is not going to work as well as a big time influencer with thousands of followers, tens of thousands of followers, who just says, hey, go check out this book. You get that, and you might see hundreds, thousands of book sales just from that and go, well, gee, I'm just going to do that all the time, right? So that's one of those things where effective, you got to think short-term versus long-term, what makes sense for you as an author, where your skill sets are at. So what you're going to find most effective at this point, like immediately as soon as you're done watching this, is going to largely depend on your current skill set and abilities, as well as the intersection of your skill sets with your particular market. So I can't say that one is going to be most effective. I will say that if I had to say probably the most immediate potential return, with the understanding everything's building an email list, I would say ads. And yeah, ads are the thing that you can set up the quickest and start testing things. So what I mean by this is, if you run ads on Amazon, let's say, you can get that set up today. You can get it set up for $1 a day. And if you're putting a lot of money into ads and it's not converting, rejoice, because it means you're learning something. You're learning something about, well, who is my audience? Am I not targeting the right people? Or wait a second, is there something really off with my cover and description? Maybe none of these things in the Aspire method are really a priority right now until I go back and fix some of these foundational pieces: cover, title, subtitle, description. Do I have enough reviews? So on and so forth. So in that case, nothing could be effective if you don't have that foundation in place.
Yeah.
And different things might be effective based off of your skill sets. So for me, I like to talk. As hardcore of an introvert as I am, I like to talk on presentations. Don't like to talk in person as much. You meet me in person, I'm like, sup? And that'll be about it. We were experiencing this before. Like, I'm just kind of a chill guy. But if it's talking about something you're passionate about in your content, I can leverage that, and you can develop that skill set. But if someone really just does not have the strength yet for going on podcasts, and maybe they don't have the skill set developed for platforms, but they do have some connections with influencers, maybe that's where they start. Or maybe they have a really good relationship with their readers. All right. So my answer, once again, it's going to be, it depends. And um, I would be I would be cautious about trying to provide one size fits all advice when there's so many
Yeah.
different genres and markets and individual preferences and things like that.
Man, you did throw me for a loop right there. I did not anticipate that answer, but that is mind blown. That's one of the reasons why I love learning from you. You were one of the very first ones I saw. Interview. You were on Tom Course and Noel's channel, and you guys were talking about Amazon ads. It's been a few years, and you were one of the first ones that brought to my attention that I could do $1 per day, and I was just like, "What? Wait, what?" And it really, honestly changed everything for me because I realized I didn't have to spend $50, $100, $1,000 per day, that I could just learn the craft of using Amazon ads at about $1 per day. So thank you. That was one thing that really helped me out. We got some great questions loading up here. John Keeler asked, I have a Facebook group for my fiction books. Would harvesting group member emails through their profiles to create an email list be unethical?
Um, is this something, so to add to the email list, is that correct? Like he
What I'm
gets the,
assuming, he's looking at trying to get the emails from their Facebook profile as opposed to asking for it.
I would ask. That's
Okay.
what I recommend. Even just from a safety standpoint, from ethics, from effectiveness, as far as like, I don't know that you can add someone to an email list without their permission. But maybe in the United States, a little different. Then you get GDPR. In Europe, would probably almost assuredly be a no, that you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
United States might be a little different if people are allowed to opt out. I would simply say though, um, look for ways to. Uh, so as I think about it, you might be allowed to do that, but I'm not going to necessarily encourage that. Nor am I going to be like, shame on you if you do that. I don't like talk to a lawyer or whatever if you want to figure out the legality of it.
Yeah.
The ethics might be gray area. For me personally, I'm going to go, what's going to create the best experience for my readers? If I really have their best interests in mind, do I want to be added to someone's email list without permission? And then it kind of goes back to that golden rule of, treat others how you want to be treated, or oftentimes I think treat others how they want to be treated. And then it goes, well, why that versus getting their permission and getting their buy-in? And this is a good point to bring up something that's a little counterintuitive at times. Sometimes the best email lists are the ones where you almost have to jump through hoops to get on.
Yeah.
So we're so caught up in like, how do we make it as easy as possible for people to join the email list? But if you've ever had low quality subscribers, not that they're low quality people, but just
Right.
in
Right.
terms of low quality results that you get, they're not opening the emails, they're not responding, they're not buying your stuff. Part of that's because they don't value it. So some of the best email lists that I'm on, especially from marketers and copywriters, they have an application form. They're like, I'm going to be sending you like really good information. Occasionally there's going to be a promotion for something, but this is like every day, like stuff that people would normally pay for. I'm going to be sending this to you. And this isn't going to everyone. They can have email lists of, less than 1,000 and create a high 6-figure to 7-figure business a year from that email list because they're so highly qualified. They're so top tier people. They value the emails so much. And I even remember filling out an application. It was actually Ian Stanley that's starting to do this. And there's like a checkbox, like I agree to read the email every Saturday and implement what I learned. Like you're not allowed
Wow.
on the email list. You don't do that. So that's a different approach. And you're filtering a lot of people out, but the people that you get take it so much more seriously and they can be potentially a lot more responsive. So I'm not saying always do that, but
Yeah.
kind of Dan Kennedy, I think his thing was like, you got to fax him if you want to, you have to like jump through certain hoops. And it's like the kind of thing that weeds out people who aren't serious, but the people that you do get are going to be, again, potentially a lot more responsive, a lot more willing to invest in you. And that's not a recommendation. Let me take a step back here. And I'm not saying for most of you with your typical email list, you want to give people a bunch of hoops to jump through.
Yeah.
This is just something to be aware of, that trying to go for pure numbers isn't always the best approach. Having people even just psychologically say, I want this. I want your emails. You're offering something. I know what I'm going to get on your email list. Yes, I choose to do that. I choose to be here. Then when they're receiving it, it's not like, who is this? What is this that's bombarding me and being forced upon me? It's this thing that, oh yeah, I chose to get this. And then if people complain, like I send daily emails, but I usually, they don't always get this email, but I have one of my welcome emails like, this is daily. If that's an issue, unsubscribe. Because it's kind of like at that point, if someone complains, and I don't really get many complaints, some people say it's really good and I wish I could read it every day, but I don't have time. Do you have a once a week email list? Sometimes I get that, but I don't get like a lot of complaints. Why? Because I pre-frame them, and they're kind of agreeing to it. If I'm like, this is a daily email list, either unsubscribe or don't subscribe if that's an issue, then it like removes someone's right to be upset by it. Same thing if you're like, hey, I'm going to be sending you promotions. I'm going to be sending you promotions. I'm going to be sending you book deals. I'm going to be doing this, blah, blah, blah. It's like, if you let people know that and you're really upfront, you'll get a few people that won't like it, but they never would have liked it anyway.
So now that's true. You won't be able to please everyone.
Yeah. So there's a lot of benefit marketing wise. I know I went on a little bit of a tangent here, but this is so important on a principle level, which is qualifying people, not trying to please everyone, not trying to be needy about it, not going for sheer numbers, valuing quality over just quantity.
Well done. Well done. I love it, man. This is one of the reasons I love hearing you, because sometimes you really, you might have rabbit trailed slightly on that one, but it made sense because it painted a bigger picture. Karen Lynn Ingalls says this: what suggestions do you have for finding platforms and influencers?
For finding platforms and influencers, there's several shortcuts and strategies that I use for this to do it in a matter of minutes. What I'm going to give you is one strategy that I teach that's going to be a fairly safe bet is to find other authors in your genre. That's another topic. I kind of think to myself, if someone doesn't know other authors in their genre, there might be some deeper issues. Like, how are you writing in a genre and not knowing the other authors in that genre? But we could do a different talk on that. I'm going to assume that you know at least who some other authors are, and think about who, like, their readers could be my readers. And it doesn't mean they have the exact same type of book, but if I write any type of horror book, I can instantly assume Stephen King is, a related author, right? I don't have to be like, well, he's not exactly like me. But like he's a big deal, right? It's kind of like young adult fantasy, J.K. Rowling. If it's for me and like business productivity, Tim Ferriss, right? So you know kind of like who similar people are, and you're like, their audience, at least a good portion of it, would probably be similar to me. Then I play the game of follow the leader. Okay, so if I go, I might even take so I mentioned Hal Elrod before. So if I'm coming out with a book on productivity and he's got his book, The Miracle Morning, and I know he went on a lot of podcasts. What am I going to do? I'm going to Google Hal Elrod podcast, and I'm going to look at the podcasts that he went on. I'm going to find from Google, where else has he been on? And those are places that I could potentially pitch. So if you find an influencer, if you find a fellow author or someone who has a similar audience as you, then you can go there. If I'm doing health and fitness, there are so many like fitness influencers. They don't even have to be authors.
Oh yeah.
But if I do that, I go, okay, who's like an influencer that I think we kind of like, their audience is kind of similar to mine. We can talk about similar sort of stuff. I'm going to Google their name plus podcast, or their name plus guest blog, their name plus, sometimes even on social media. And I go, what are the places that they've written for? What are the other podcasts and platforms that they've been featured on? What are the live stages that they've spoken on, all of these things, I go, great. That's proven that these places already feature guests, and they feature guests that are like me. And then that right there, in a matter of minutes, you can find and just start, listing off. So I've done this, and you just go through, first few pages of Google, you search the videos on Google, and you'll see the YouTube channels that they've been featured on. So if you search like Derek Doepker interview, or Derek Doepker, even just YouTube, just Google my name, then you would find me with Dale Roberts. At some point, you would come across this, and you go, okay, so Dale and Derek are connected in some way. You can see the platforms, and this is how you can find platforms that might potentially feature you.
That's awesome. It's always funny, like whenever I tell people that specific methodology is how I've always made connections. Is I follow people or I Google it up and I try to find ways to contact and connect with them. So fantastic. I don't want to add anything else onto that. Douglas Falk has this question for you. In a casino, if you had to choose, Facebook ads or Amazon ads?
Amazon ads are going to be the safer bet.
Okay.
Most of the time, in terms of generating an ROI. The downside of Amazon ads is that there's a more limited scalability. So for me as a nonfiction guy, I'm going to go with Amazon ads. That being said, you're asking me my choice. My choice might not be the best recommendation for someone else. So
Gotcha.
always be careful about, and rarely do I use the word always, but when I say be careful, I just mean be conscious, be aware that what might be perfect for someone else could be terrible for you. And it's not even that it's inherently bad for you. Maybe it just works when a person's at a certain stage in their journey. So maybe it'll be great for you a month from now, or maybe it would have been great for you a month ago or a year ago. But where you're at right now isn't ideal. So if I give you my workout program, that you just got, if someone just got in a car accident in their hospital, don't try to do the same workout program. Like, don't even try to exercise. They have broken legs. Like, don't do that. You got to know where you're at. And I want to make it as kind of common sense, like no duh, as possible.
Yeah.
It's just to point out that it's, even myself included, can get very caught up in, ooh, well, this is what the guru did. This is what this expert did.
Yep.
And yeah, take that into consideration. That you always got to see, does this fit with you right now? Or is this something that's ideal for them, not so much for you, or ideal for you, but not at this point in time?
Nice. Well put. I love it. A couple more questions here, folks. I don't want to keep Derek too long. And by the way, just a heads up, Derek, I'm just going to say I apologize ahead of time. I made the graphic assets for your name and I spelt it wrong. I'm sure it's probably not the last time. Yeah, you're like, that's it, dude. I'm out of here. But folks, it is Doepker. I just forgot to put the P in there. So, but at any rate, Adriana asks something, and I'm actually kind of curious about this. Does Derek offer a package for launching and marketing books?
Like a done-for-you package?
I'm assuming that's what she's asking.
Okay, so I'll answer either way. So what I offer is coaching to guide an author through the process. I don't have a done for you package. I do have some that I could recommend if you reach out. I will say that a good done for you package, usually like on the low end, $7,000 to maybe $50,000 we're talking about in terms of investment. And the other thing is, I know it's tempting for many authors to go, man, I just wish I could write my books and not even deal with the marketing. I just want someone else to handle all of that. And it's a bit like the Jim Rohn quote of, you can't hire someone to do your push-ups for you.
Right.
Even when I like done for you, I hired a done for you service to do some promotion and stuff, but like, it's still not like I sit back and do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I gotta show up. So if it's like a done for you book marketing campaign, someone might book you the interview, but you still got to show up in the interview and perform. Like, someone might write some emails for you, but like, and I'm a copywriter, so I've written emails for other people and I do that, but they still, if you don't want to pay a few $100 to, $1,000+ per email for a top copywriter, that might be worth it for a few launch emails. But what about your consistent ongoing engagement with your audience? right? Like that's something you got to cultivate, that relationship. So I'm not saying that this person asking this or anyone else here is wanting to completely outsource it, but I just know that that comes up for some people where they think, I just want to offload this. And the thing is, whether you like it or not, you're a marketer who's also an author. It's
Yep.
if you're in business. Now, if you're doing it as a hobby, whatever. You can forget about anything that we've talked about, but I don't know why you'd be listening to this whole training on book marketing if you didn't want to learn how to market your books and sell your books.
Right.
So if we go through the Aspire method, someone might set up ads for you. That might be something you can outsource. I will say that there's some services out there that will outsource that. Social media, someone might make some posts, but usually they're going to need your direction as an author. Platforms usually going to need your content and you going there speaking or putting your words in there. Influencers, usually someone might make the initial connection, but I find it much more effective personally to be the one to do the outreach. And then at some point, connecting personally, building an authentic relationship with the influencer, and things like that. So you can outsource a degree of it, and by all means that can make sense, and that's why I have some done for you sort of stuff that I can recommend. Just realize that done for you means pieces are done for you. A lot of it might be done for you. A lot of the setup and initiation might be done for you. But then at some point you're going to need to be the one to show up and let people connect with you as the author.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. I've got another question here as we start to kind of wrap things up here, folks. Make sure you stick around. Man, you're on a roll today. X Clayton 23 asked you this question. You mentioned not being for giving away free books. What would be the best strategy with a free ebook?
I missed that first part.
So you mentioned not being for giving away free books. What would be the best strategy with a free ebook? So it sounds like he's saying you were not in favor of giving away free books.
Rarely am I 100% for or against something, as you may start to get an impression. So I was more like considerations. There's a cautiousness, more cautious about giving away free books, but I absolutely you mentioned bestseller secrets where .com, where I'm giving away why authors fail for free. So I'd be a hypocrite if I said I'm 100% against it. Now it has its place. And then same thing with KDP promotions, or if you're in KDP Select and you want to do a free book promotion, that absolutely has its place. So what I give is the consideration then to answer the strategy wise is that if it's a KDP promotion, like a KDP Select, then I find that the free books tend to work more for books that have a lot of demand for them. Meaning you could easily give away 10,000, 15, 20,000 copies and still there's tons of readers for it. So this is your big categories of romance, thriller, business books, relationships, so on and so forth. If it's a really niche book though, within one of those categories, there's just not as much free potential to get traction on the Amazon algorithm. So I go, if I don't think I can give away at least 5,000 free books, which is usually heavily powered by ads, like free book promotion sites and stuff, combined with influencers sharing with their audience or different things, then it usually isn't going to give enough juice in the Amazon algorithm. As far as building an email list with free books and stuff, that can work. The thing to keep in mind, a couple things. One is you still got to sell the book, still got to sell the value. There's a lot of people nowadays just say, hey, get a free book. Doesn't really mean much. We're in a world of endless freebies these days. And the cautious part is people don't tend to value something if they get it for free. So the point is not to say don't ever give away stuff for free. But I did an email on this recently. Jay Abraham talked about, he would do these 15-minute consultations, and he stopped offering a free 15-minute consultation. He started framing it as, I'll buy you $500 of my time. Complete perspective change. Now, I want to say that's Jay Abraham. That's high-level consulting. That's a different market. The point isn't saying I'm going to buy you, blah, blah, blah. It's not that you have to get the exact detail. It's think about the perception in people's minds. So at the very least, if you're going to offer a free book, build the value of it. Say, hey, this book sells for X amount of dollars, or, or here's what people are raving about this book. Right. So still building up the value of this. And in my case, the value, I'm not spending a lot of time here talking about why authors fail and why it's so amazing and stuff like that. but I have your edification, Dale, which I appreciate, as well as hopefully it's the demonstration of you as the influencer for your nonfiction. So the point is, build up the value as opposed to just being like, hey, everyone, I got this free book. Check it out. Like, give them a little bit more than that so that they see where they're like, in an ideal world, and this isn't always practical, in an ideal world, they're like, how can I pay you for that? And you're like, actually, you can get it as a gift, as a free gift. They're like, oh, this is awesome. I can't wait to dive into it. Versus, oh, this is another of the 7,423 different freebies I have sitting on my hard drive that I've never gotten to.
Well stated, man. We've got questions rolling in, man. Like you've got people, like you've greased the creative wheels over here of the audience. How's your time holding up right now, man?
I'm here as long as I can be of service. I'm here for you, man.
Hey, thank you so much. If anybody, if you want to hear more from Derek, please drop it inside the chat right now while he throws down a drink, because he's been talking. Like, thank you, man. You've been like the easiest guest I've had yet. This is so fantastic. Okay, so I've got a question, and by the way, if you want to hear more from Derek, you gotta say so inside the chat right now. The question comes from Make Money Online. I'm managing two businesses, e-commerce and book publishing. Do I use social media pages for both businesses or one business?
So, e-commerce and book publishing, are they in the same, like, are they selling to the same audience in some way? Is the physical product selling the same thing as like with the books? Like I'll give an example, and it might be a completely different genre, but I think of like a health book and then it's selling health supplements. How are they connected? That would be my question.
So if there's some connection, then it would probably make a bit more sense then.
Yeah, you might have an umbrella brand, but then still like if I were to do that, it might be like XYZ Publishing and then XYZ Nutrition or something like that. Again, this is just, I have no idea what the category is. That's not my area of expertise, so I don't have an informed opinion. What I would say is study some other places if you can find anything else that's doing something similar. My first instinct is that it does tend to make more sense to have a separate page for these things, and it's so quick and easy to set up a separate page, unless it's some umbrella brand that people are purchasing from a like if there's some type of umbrella that it categorizes all of this where it makes sense. People are buying from, like, let's say it's an author branding where, like, hey, here's my books and here's my supplements. Here's my books and here's my merchandise. Like, here, I'm a thriller author, and then here's my merchandise, my coffee mugs and shirts that are related to my books. There would need to be a pretty strong relation, and then you might be able to do some umbrella brand for both.
Definitely covered things pretty well in this one, because Make Money Online did clarify they're different products. So in this instance, you would recommend they separate that out then.
Yep.
Okay, excellent. There was a question here, and this one's an interesting one here. W.A. Blinko, Wayne, good friend of the channel here. Wayne asks, are WhatsApp groups a good strategy? I have no idea what that is, so I couldn't even begin to answer that.
Yeah, I know what WhatsApp is. I've used it. I've never done a WhatsApp group. So in terms of just the way the question is phrased, are the groups a strategy? I would look at it like, how could I leverage this group? Turn it into a question. And this is where, as an author, you got to be creative and innovative and going, okay, this is going into a market maybe where other people haven't gone. How can I leverage this? Now, the strategy is what you specifically do. The strategy is, do I go into the group and post a link to my book? Do I go into the group and help people? Do I go into the group and connect with the admin and talk about doing some sort of paid promotion? Do I talk to the admin and talk about doing a free talk for the group? Like, That's strategy. Like there's a lot of different ways you could approach a group. So if we replaced WhatsApp group with any group online, there's a lot of different ways that you can approach that group. And some might be more effective than others. As far as the group itself, I mean, at the end of the day, human beings are human beings. So it's more, how are you going in there? That's the strategy. And that's why I can't, it's not actually a strategy question. It's more, is that a platform? And then the question is, what would the strategy be? So, and I'll make a point on this. Let's just swap out WhatsApp with a Facebook group, because a lot of people are going to be familiar with that.
Yeah.
If we take a Facebook group, is leveraging a Facebook group a good strategy for authors? Well, it depends, right? Because some groups, if you just go in there and start spamming people with buy my book, or even if you go in there and start just messaging people, hey, saw you're in the group, how are you? Hey, so I got this book on Amazon and blah blah blah. It's like, you could play the numbers game, but I don't recommend that. And you might get kicked out of the group. You might have some issues. But if you were going in that group and contributing, and then you had a link back on your profile where people go, oh, who is this person? And they go back and click and they check out and they see you're an author and they can find your work easily, that can be a way. And again, I kind of gave away some different strategies there, where it might be connecting with the admin. It might be just forming, I know the word authentic is thrown around a lot these days, but I don't know a better way to say it than like authentic and genuine relationships with people. And through doing that, some of them you might later on go, hey, I have this new book coming out. I'm looking for a few beta readers. Would you be interested in getting a free copy in exchange for some honest feedback? Totally cool to say no if you're not available. I thought of you and wanted to check. Like something like that. Like that might work, but that's not an overnight thing. This is the thing to keep in mind. Strategy might be cultivating relationships, day 1, and day 30 or day 90 later is when you go out and you connect with them and see if they'd be interested. Strategy is, how do you do that outreach? Is it just saying, hey, here's my book on Amazon, click here? Or, hey, I have this book. I have no idea if this is for you or not. If you know anyone who might be interested in it, or would you like the details? You can do a little bit more than that, but as a generally good strategy, I find it's more often than not, you don't want to send someone the link first point of contact. It's like permission-based marketing. Hey, is this something that you're interested in? Right. So maybe a little pitch, but then getting their interest. And then if they say yes, or then after they establish some interest, or then they're like, and there's more subtle ways of doing it too, where that they come to you. But assuming you're doing outreach, that can make a big difference. And I want to touch on this even just for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
There's a difference between, I have blah, 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 blah for you. Here's the link. And I have this blah, 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 blah. Are you interested? Would you like me to send you, let's just say, would you like me to send you the link? You might think, well, why add an extra step in there? Why not just drop the link? And maybe you can at times, but there's a psychological difference between you asking someone if they want something and they go, sure, or yes. Not only are you getting their permission, but you're getting a little bit of their buy-in. And now whenever you send the link, it feels different. And man, I could rant on this and I won't, but that I could rant on unsolicited feedback and advice that some people offer. And all I'll say is this. One of the reasons why unsolicited advice is bad, and I'm not saying there's never a place for it, but it's generally bad. The issue isn't offering them feedback. This is something I call burrito assault. Okay. And burrito assault for me is, I love burritos. Yeah. I don't know too many people who don't love burritos. I love burritos. I could always eat a burrito. There's never a point in time where you could come up to me and be like, hey, Derek, you want a burrito? And I'm like, get that burrito away from me. I want burritos all the time. Even if I'm not going to eat it right now, I want a burrito. So where am I going with this? Well, here's the thing. Even though I always want burritos, I might even say to myself, I might say out loud, I'm walking somewhere, I'm like, man, I'm so hungry for a burrito. That doesn't mean someone can come up, take a burrito, and then just shove it down my throat. They still need to be like, oh, I got a burrito. Would you like it? It's this idea like you can't. And so when people are giving unsolicited advice, they're like forcing it down someone's throat. I might appreciate the advice. I might appreciate the feedback. I might even want you to share it with me. And a very simple practice is to be like, hey, I saw something that you could do that would be really awesome. Would you like me to share it with you? If you just ask permission, it changes the entire dynamic of the interaction. And this is when I go back now, kind of recapitulating towards the beginning of the conversation, talking about influence and relationships, learning that at a seminar that made all the difference. These are the emotional intelligence skills. These are the people skills that make all the difference. And it's these subtle little distinctions that could be either turning someone off or inviting them in, just based off of, did you ask them a question first? Did you get them coming to you? Did you pull them in, or did you try to force it on them? And that's what I feel like a lot of, within all these strategies, we can talk about Aspire method, but deep within the actual practical application of this, it has to do with your ability to persuade and influence, which comes down to your people skills.
Nice. I love the burrito analogy. I'm going to hang on to that one for sure. I'll give you credit. All right, I got another question here. Folks, we're going to probably start to wrap things up here. If there's no other questions, make sure you get them in now while you can. John Wasser, long time friend and follower here of the channel. He says, I leave helpful responses on several lists. How can I create an e-signature that incorporates my URL in a statement like books and t-shirts you'll love? And then how do I easily put that in there?
I'd have to see this. And even then, this sounds like it might be a technical thing. I might know the answer, but I'm not. It sounds like he knows what he wants to do, but it's more a technical how-to.
Yeah.
So I don't know without knowing the specifics of this.
I'm going to go ahead and recommend to John at this right away. You've seen my email signatures, for instance. I've got an email signature on mine, and I'm not sure if he's talking e-signature like e-signing like a document, or he's referring to, like, I'm thinking based on the links thing, he's looking for an email signature. Email signatures, like, I got mine done for like $5 over on Fiverr. I went and sent a headshot, I put in what I wanted and the links that I wanted, and all they did was they sent me the HTML code, I put it into my thing. So that will hopefully help you out there, John. And there's some free ones you can find online, but honestly, you get what you pay for on some of those ones where they look real bush league. They're kind of ate up looking. I just spent $5 and made things easy. Okay, Freddie Car Power 360 says this: is there anything wrong in offering books in 2 different languages within the same KDP account? What would be your recommendation?
Never tried that. I don't have any experience with that, so I don't have any type of informed opinion on that.
I've done it before, and it is definitely okay. I've done multiple languages, so if you're going to go break out into another language, Freddie, what I would recommend is that, study the market first, and you need to also understand you're going to have to market and promote that. So do you have someone who's bilingual, or do you understand the language that you can put together ads inside their native language in its native area? So for instance, if it's Spanish, you're wanting to advertise over in Spain, then, having that knowledge set's going to help you out. Don't just publish and pray for the best. So, all right, well, hey, we're going to start to kind of wrap things up. Derek, you have been so fantastic, dropping a ton of 411. We've gone over an hour and 15 minutes. How can viewers get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, Dale, bestsellersecrets.com. That's where join the email list. Yes, it is just about daily. These are stories, interesting stories, philosophies, a lot of it's sometimes practical tips and things on all things authorship and self-publishing, as well as the book Why Authors Fail. And this is where you'll see the 17 biggest mistakes I see self-published authors make and how to fix them. I think either in that, I'm pretty sure in that and Why Authors Fail, you'll hear a little bit more about how to connect with influencers as well. So I know it's one of the last chapters I talk about that. So if you want to know, like, how do you connect with influencers, see some more strategy behind this, then that's going to be in Why Authors Fail. Again, you can get that at bestsellersecrets.com.
Yeah, great read. Hey, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. And folks, While you're still here, this very next video I'm going to send you over to, actually Derek talks a little bit more in depth about marketing and promotion. It's it's a little longer and such, but not quite as long as what we just did right now. But I think you're going to find why I love Derek so much and all his content. It's just really refreshing. I think you'll agree with me, so just go ahead and click on this very next video.